you had an immediate loss on your position, your stop loss was ineffective because it did not limit your downside protection to $17.40. That's why I don't use stop loss orders. Overnight news, other events, especially when they come out with the earnings announcements or some other announcement, can dramatically affect the price of the stock, and stop loss orders will not help you if the stock gaps down. That's why I generally do not use stop losses. Instead, I like to use put options for insurance. Yes, it does cost something. It's not free insurance like a stop loss order would be. However, how much did that stop loss order really protect you and really cost you? It cost you a lot more. If you bought 1,000 shares of stock at $17.80 and you got stopped out at $16 on 1,000 shares of stock, that stop loss order cost you $1,780. A put position, on the other hand, maybe if I had limited my loss, if I purchased on this, initiated the position on this day, my maximum loss on that position would have been $440. And in fact, what I'll do is I'm going to show you the reason that I can enter a trade for $14,000 and turn it into $75,000 in 8 months is because when I initiated this position, it was for the long term. I placed a put option. If I was to initiate this position, I would put a put option in place as insurance with a very, very tight loss of only $400, like I did and I analyzed here. I would have purchased an in-the-money put option just slightly above the current price of the stock, and once the stock dropped and I would have made $1,780, well, that $1,780 would have allowed me to purchase additional shares of the stock. That's right. This is where the majority of investors who simply use covered positions, and this is technically called covered stock because you're buying the stock and protecting it with a put option. And at this point, I would have purchased additional shares using, well, it's over here, but you can see what I mean. I would have purchased additional shares of the stock at $17. I would have cashed in my insurance policy. Now my put that I purchased when I initiated this position would have given me approximately a $1,700 profit. Well, a $1,700 profit divided by a share price of $15.90, say, oops, I got it backwards, 1780, and profit on my put position divided by a share price of $15.90 would have allowed me to purchase an additional 110 shares of stock. However, I probably would have purchased an additional 100 shares of stock at this point, cashed in my insurance policy. So at this point, I would have had 1,100 shares of stock. And then I would have used the additional cash, another 11 shares or approximately $300 now, to purchase another put option instead of buying maybe the $18 put option here, which would have given me that $1,780 profit. I cash that in. I buy an additional 100 shares of stock. Now I have 1,100 shares of stock. And I would have purchased an additional put option as protection at the $16 level, which was just right at the money, as insurance. Now let's see what a $16 put option would have cost me on this particular day. This was April 24th, 2008. So with the stock trading at $15.99, I would have purchased an additional 100 shares of stock at $15.99, and I could have purchased either the $15 or the $16 strike price put option, and I could have paid approximately 67 cents for the $15 strike price, or $16 strike price at $1.07. I probably would have gone with the here's a good analysis here. Now I have 1,100 shares of stock. At 1,100 shares of stock, now I need to purchase 11 contracts in order to protect those shares of 1,100 shares of stock. I'm not happy with either of these options. If the stock is trading for $15.99, if I purchased the $16 strike price, it would have cost me approximately $1,000, almost $1,100. Let's see, if we go up to 1,100, 11 contracts, that would have cost me approximately times $1.06 times the multiplier of 100, $1,166. I would rather have purchased the $15.50 strike price. But the $15.50 strike price is not available. Since the $15.50 strike price is not available, I could have created a synthetic strike price of $15.50 by simply purchasing, instead of 11 contracts at the $16 strike price, let's get rid of this one because that's the old one. I could have purchased a combination of the $16 and $15 strike prices. In other words, I would create a synthetic insurance policy at a synthetic strike price of $15.50 by, let's say, purchasing 6 of the $16 puts and 5 of the $15 puts. That would have essentially given me a synthetic strike price of $15.50. Do you see that? Because if I split, since I have now 1,100 shares of stock, I have, and I wanted to get the I wanted to purchase the $15.50 strike price, but there isn't one. So all I had to do was split the number of contracts between the $16 and the $15 strike prices. Let's go back to our chart for a second. At this point, I would have seen 2 days of lower prices, and the price would have gone down to about $15.60. Not enough of a price movement to really cash in any insurance policy here, but now I do have 1,100 shares of stock. Remember, I lost approximately, maybe $400. Remember, my maximum loss on initiating position is $500. At least that's where I feel comfortable on 1,000 shares of stock. I cashed in my insurance policy. I purchased additional puts as insurance, and now I have 1,100 shares of stock. At 15, I have some at because I lost $500 on this. Now my cost basis is a little bit different. However, I have 1,100 shares of stock at $15.90. I have additional put protection, and I only have a $400 loss at this point. Now let's follow the stock as it goes along. It never really falls below the low of this bar, and it just continues to go up at this point all the way up to $18. let's pick these 3 particular days in particular. It goes up to $18.30, and at that point, since I have 1,100 shares and I bought it at $15.90 and it goes up to $18.30, let's see what kind of a profit potential that is.